Hey, I'm Emily Johnson. I'm 38, and I have a lively 13-year-old boy, Kyle, and an 11-year-old little princess, Lily. And my husband, Mike, also 38, of course. As far as you can see, not the easiest personalities, but this is more of a bonus than a problem. Kyle has recently started a bad period for a teenager. A lot of himself, a lot of energy, and unfortunately, too much talking. Fortunately, when the motor gets overloaded, my husband steps in, having a fatherly heart-to-heart talk, and Kyle quickly pulls himself together. Lily grows into a real fashionista with a quick wit and a real gift for persuasion. I don't know what she does to her brother, but the moment of truth comes. Mom won't like you if you won't be nice to me, and poor Kyle has cracked, comes up and apologizes. But I have something else for you. Our family is not entirely typical. More specifically, this is not my first, and perhaps not the second, experience of implementing the status of a wife. Mike is my second chance. In a first gentle and carefree marriage to the love of my youth, life squandered me a betrayal. He was not very gentle with a knife and left a scar that is pleased to be hurt. I studied at the university when John and I were not just in love, we were made for each other. We dreamed of children with the appearance of dark curls and a dimple in the chin, how we would dress them in the same outfits and exhibit them to everyone. Alas, we had no chance. We were diagnosed with infertility, milliseconds, and we tried to fix it, but IVF for 3 salaries is quite a stress for a young family. My husband's sarcasm from helplessness turned into the lion's share of my faults. He fell into provocations, and I espoused extravagantly intolerant things. Fulfilled my female theme badly, although before the marriage of a finger at times I did not click. My sister and her husband have a second child. During the announcement of the news, he muttered something about sister, briefly recalled her, and said, "Tip for the future, nothing but tears of joy, never." So here I am now, finding happiness in my second chance with Mike and our beautiful family, leaving behind the pain of the past as best as I can. If I had known you couldn't have kids, I wouldn't have married you. His words really hurt. And then the calls from in-laws begged me to hurry up and give them grandkids. At first, I was okay with it, thinking that it's only been a year of marriage. But later they kept calling, and my mother-in-law no longer just hinted at my role as wife and a mother, but outright called me useless for not being able to conceive, comparing me to my sister-in-law, who had a child of her own immediately after marriage. Feeling suffocated, I accepted a friend's invitation for a drink to get away from the tense atmosphere. Over drinks, she suddenly told me the bomb of a news. My husband and his childhood friend, Jessica, which I only vaguely remembered from when we met, were having an affair. I was speechless. Feeling betrayed and shocked, I decided to check this information out. It didn't take me long to gather the evidence, but even then, I didn't want to believe in it or to end this marriage. After all, he was still once the person I loved and promised to spend my life with. Yet, a couple of days later, when I finally got the courage, I told John that I wanted a divorce. His reply was cruel and shocking. He openly admitted to the affair and said he was going to marry Jessica because she is so beautiful and can have children. Those words broke me, and it was clear that he and his mother always wanted her to be his wife, not me. In that moment, I understood that I could continue the marriage. Despite the pain, I deserved to be the first in someone's life. A few days later, I felt a wave of lacrimation and a deep sadness that did not allow me to be in a good mood for a second. I had to cry even while packing things. However, I realized that not because of me, but because of this baby's coming to the human world, I need to leave. My heart felt incredibly heavy when John walked out the door, and I did not have the strength to stop him. Filed for divorce when divorce papers arrived. In addition to the note that a woman sent to my husband, "I beg you to divorce me quickly." I did not understand what these conflicting words mean. At first, I wanted to take revenge and tell her one thing, that he is my husband, and that I realized that the woman was not to blame for anything. I was being accused, so I picked up all the evidence and went to court to file for divorce. A few days later, I got a call from an unknown number saying, "You know well, and you don't have to sue us. You have no reason to do so." It was Jessica. I needed compensation because I was expecting a baby from him. But I didn't listen to her. I wanted everything to be settled in court. The judge agreed with the evidence he had and identified the relationship between John and Jessica as adultery. John, in turn, tried to shift responsibility for his actions to my infertility, but this argument was rejected. In the end, I got everything I deserved: $4,000 of alimony from John and $20,000 from Jessica, but I insisted that they be paid in one installment. I did not want the leftovers of tithes and the regular payment, so our divorce was completed. But my suffering did not end there. When our friends and acquaintances found out about the adventures of John and Jessica was at that time. We both worked at our university, University of Michigan. Imagine me sitting at a desk working on a project, and Jessica's desk is next to mine. Now imagine that rumor-monger Jessica. Sadly, I was her new target. She always liked to play the boss's daughter, and she had the boss on a hook. When Jessica started telling everyone who worked at the university about what a terrible person I was, everyone just believed her. It all started when she started telling everyone in some sort of tearful way that I was supposedly terrible because I not only took money for alimony, but also concealed the fact of my infertility. I tried nothing to take her round. She was the daughter of the boss, and therefore got all the indulgences from childhood. My work also became worthless. Instead of me, she was taking me off from projects gradually higher to her. I felt myself like in a mental corner, and eventually I had to resign. And then, when I thought that nothing could go more wrong, a person who became a light at the end of a tunnel suddenly appeared in my life. It turned out that someone out there did not forget about me. One sunny day, the other company approached me. They were interested not in my name, but in my skills. It was breathtaking. They treated me as a worker, not a friend or relative. No partiality, no nepotism. It was pure work. In the end, that was my ray of hope, my new life. And that is where the story takes the right course. You see, I have met my good husband Mike there. He is the best person in this world, attentive and friendly. He is always like the first day when I met him, every time he proposes to me. But to be honest, I was not sure if I want to get married or not. I have 2 children with my ex-husband, but it happened only after taking treatments for a long time. And you know what he said? He did not care if we have children or not. He only cared about us. And I have no doubt anymore. So now my husband and I are happy together with our 2 children. And no matter what, even we meet my ex-husband at the wedding of our common friends, we are ready to overcome it all. It must be so challenging to eat because of stress, especially if you're struggling with infertility and lack support. I was so taken aback by the parents' rudeness, I couldn't find my words to respond. And the son, sweetie, he looked so embarrassed watching them. Handsome. Oh, I forgot to mention I have a horrible memory. Sorry, my son. His name is Ben, and he is as cute as Jessica is boasting. She could have described an amazing genius, so handsome and smart. So it was hard to see her son did not meet her standards. The son seemed like a nice guy from experience. It's the only way I can put it. I was totally taken aback and kept thinking about ways to mitigate the embarrassment when I suddenly saw a familiar face. You really shouldn't be making a commotion at a party like this. Very distracting everyone, my mom said as she approached. Try to be somewhat more aware. Mom, who are these scary people? Lily said as she saw me and showed concern about my tardiness. Kyle and Lily, my children, had stopped by to check on me. As I expected, Lily was as outspoken as ever, but I did not anticipate my timid son to say something so bold. "Mom, you're late. Did you have kids?" Kyle added to the conversation. "Yes, I did. Allow me to introduce them to everyone. This is my son, Kyle, and my daughter, Lily," I responded, giving them each a hug, all the while noting John's surprised expression. He seemed surprised that his ex-wife, who he believes cannot conceive, has 2 children. My son was surrounded by Jessica's gaze, which seemed to stare through his soul before she finally spoke. "That uniform. He walked in with his dad straight from school," I replied, oblivious to her sudden realization. "But still, isn't that a gifted junior high school uniform for famous companies?" Jessica was shocked to see Kyle had such an academic background judged from the uniform itself. "Yes, that's correct. He's gifted and is at a well-known local private junior high," I said with pride. Jessica and John then both stared at him in a daze, trying to understand so many aspects of our lives unraveling at once. In this time of existential dread, my husband Mike appeared, ignorant and unaware of the turmoil. John gasped when he saw Mike walk in. Mike was President Smith, the young CEO whom John had met last year at ABC Corporation and had completely forgotten. Jessica paled even more than John at the sight of him. "Your husband is Smith, last year's new chief officer?" she asked. "Not exactly. My husband, Mike, uses my dad's surname of Smith as CEO of Jessica's father's company's parent company. He was headhunted while on the job hunt. He was a top manager at Paradigm Power. Last year, the departing CEO recommended him as his successor on his way out. Since the departing person made it such that one could not say no," I explained as the story came to a close. "Smith, but wait, what's up with this @Vive?" Smith started banging on. My husband, Mike, seemed confused by the conversation and looked down at his phone as he sensed some tension coming on. Then Kyle stood up and said, "They were saying a lot of nasty things about our mom. People were shouting infertile and fat, so we came in for Mom and Dad." Kyle and Lily barged in on my ex-husband and his wife when they were passing by and started to be rude about me. So that's why Kyle said suddenly Mike's curiosity about the rumors was piqued by the word infertile. John, out of nowhere, began to excuse himself in front of Mike, saying, "I would never say that to your wife, would I, Jessica?" But Jessica couldn't forgive him for whatever foul he did, so it turned into a mess. Then Jan, Jessica's son, who had never uttered a word, shouted, "Stop! I can't listen to you any longer. You're shouting bad things to her and saying, 'Give me my money back or you ran away with a new man.' And did I emerge from you as my father's extramarital affair? I am unwanted," crying until his voice was cut off. John and Jessica began to mumble, and my eyes met my husband's. Jessica, ashamed, blushing, and focusing her eyes on the floor. I am very angry with them, but John and Jessica's son seemed like a decent kid. As I was going to pat him on the back, Mike patted his head. "You're a kind boy," he said softly. I smiled and added, "Or maybe I'm fat," while stroking my belly. Current 3-month maternity. Looking at the boy getting tears in his eyes, I commented, "It was the same way your mom took good care of you in her belly. You were not unwanted. Your parents love you and are proud of you, right?" I then looked at John and Jessica and the boy with an earnest gaze for their answer. Watching a nod from both, I said, "Then these two tell me that you are their pride and joy." And I saw the boy giving me a wide smile and said with a relief, "Then let's remember that today is a time of joy. Let's all get back to our seats." When each family returned to their seats and the turmoil ended, after the ceremony was over and we were going back to the station, Jessica and John came up to me holding hands and their son between them. Kyle and Lily had been eager to defend me, but Mike smiled slyly back and calmed them down, We are sorry, so sorry for everything, in the past and for today. Thanks for everything earlier for our son. It was the first apology I heard from Mike and Jessica in over 15 years. Maybe even bad people can change a little after having a child. I looked back and said, apparently laughing, "Well, it's already late." Even so, I started walking away. Kyle carried my bags, and Lily draped a jacket over my shoulders. They were always good kids. Should I barbecue everyone with Dad's ultimate hamburgers for dinner? With the most servings, Kyle and Lily look at each other with a thrilled smile. How about treating Kyle and Lily with hamburgers cooked with Dad's secret spices? The sight of them suffering and bowing their heads to eat them, their cries of gratitude, I will protect those smiles forever. With each sizzle of the grill, I shook off the spirits of yesterday and welcomed the joy of today.